percent of its resource capacity and is on track to be running at 200% by the year 2030. Imagine you're riding a bus that has a 50 passenger limit but is carrying nearly 100 passengers through a hazardous mountain highway. Doesn't that make you uncomfortable? My name is Fawad Qureshi, and I've been working in the cloud data analytics space for 2 decades. Sustainability, at its core, is a problem which can be solved through better access to data. In my course, we will begin with an introduction to sustainability concepts, we'll cover the key regulations, and then we will talk about how Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability offers different solutions to cover your ESG needs. At the end of the course, I'll show you how you can use the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability to develop your own journey. So if you're ready to begin, let's get started. A 2004 report from the United Nations titled Who Cares Wins carried what is widely considered the first mainstream mention of ESG: environment, social, and governance. The report aimed to increase the awareness of all involved financial market actors, trigger a broader discussion, and support creativity and thoughtfulness in approach, rather than be prescriptive. The goal was to enhance clarity around the respective roles of market actors like companies, governments, regulators, stock exchanges, investors, financial advisors, and consultants to behave sustainably. It also aimed to encourage them to manage their markets through an ESG lens. Now that you have a little background on ESG, let's discuss the different types of carbon emissions. Measuring and tracking where an organization stands in the pantheon of carbon emissions is a crucial first step in developing a mitigation strategy. Let's take a look at the 3 main scopes of carbon emissions. Scope 1. These are emissions from operations that are owned or controlled by the reporting company. Examples include emissions from combustion in owned or controlled boilers, furnaces, vehicles, etc. Scope 2. These are emissions from the generation of purchased or acquired electricity, steam, heating, or cooling consumed by the reporting company. Examples include use of purchased electricity, steam, heating, and/or cooling. Scope 3. These include all indirect emissions not included in Scope 2 that occur in the value chain of the reporting company, including both upstream and downstream emissions. Examples include production of purchased products, transportation of purchased products, or use of sold products. Scope 3 emissions are generally considered to be more than 80% of a company's total carbon footprint. Now that you understand the main scopes of emission, let's discuss some of the key regulations around ESG sustainability. Governance, or more specifically regulations, are the fastest evolving aspect of the ESG space. Governments and large organizations alike are seeing the importance of quick adoption of policies that help manage their ESG risks. Every day, new regulations are being introduced by different governments and regions. CSRD, SFDR, and EU taxonomy are some of the most common regulations. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC in the US, and the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, also have different ESG/climate-related regulations. Eventually, the main goal will be to standardize reporting and ensure that the companies are not doing any greenwashing in their business. Greenwashing is a term used to describe a false, misleading, or untrue action or set of claims made by an organization about the positive impact of that company, product, or service on the environment. It's important to remember that this is a dynamic area, and you must investigate your respective industry, country, or region's regulation to find out which apply to you. You should do this on a regular basis. I invite you to take 5 minutes after this video and look up your state, country, or region's regulations. What are some of the more interesting or thought-provoking suggestions you see there? Now that we have discussed some of the key sustainability regulations, let's talk about a key financial concept called long-termism. So what is the difference between short-termism versus long-termism? Well, sustainability forces companies to think about their long-term strategy rather than their short-term business goals. When you have a short-term mindset, you end up with a disproportionate focus on quarterly returns. When your company has a short-term focus, it discourages the development of any research and development goals for redesigning existing business processes. It also minimizes the need to discover new sustainable raw materials. Short-termism may promote financial bubbles, financial instability, and general economic underperformance. Sustainability requires long-termism or a long-term focus. With the latest regulation that the governments have put in place, organizations have been forced to think differently and, more importantly, longer term in order to avoid being penalized for bad business practices. Think about this. Would you put your 401k or pensions into a company which has a short-term focus? Remember, in the long run, it is always a good business to be a good business. Now that we have discussed the long-term strategy required for sustainability, let's discuss some of the other challenges. Traditionally, businesses have focused on just their bottom line, that is, their margins. ESG research has indicated that the generation of long-term sustainable returns is dependent on stable, well-functioning, and well-governed social, environmental, and economic systems. This is the term called triple bottom line, coined by business writer John Elkington. The writer expressed in 1994 that the company should think about 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit, not just profit alone. As we discussed at the start of this course, sustainability at its core is a data challenge. In order to start covering for other Ps, we need better access to data which is not within the internal systems of an organization. I was talking to one of my retail customers and they asked me, Fawad, what if the supplier of my supplier, 7 chains down the link, is using anti-environmental practices? I'm responsible for them under the Scope 3 regulations, as I am indirectly benefiting from their actions. The problem is that most ERP systems of the companies have data about their direct suppliers only, but not of the companies who are supplying their suppliers. This is exactly the problem that Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability sets out to solve. Now that we have covered different challenges in the sustainability space, let's discuss how Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability can address these challenges. Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability is an overarching term for a growing set of ESG capabilities from Microsoft and their ecosystem of partners. These services will help organizations accelerate their sustainability progress and business growth. The offering is split into 2 broad categories. Number 1, green sustainable technologies, which help an organization build a sustainable IT infrastructure. And number 2, sustainable technologies, which help the organization optimize their supply chain. These solutions aim to solve the problem in 5 steps. Number 1, record. This involves capturing the data about the tools and processes of the organization in a systematic way. Number 2, report. This feature helps build analytical reports and dashboards on the data collected for informed decision making. Number 3 and 4, reduce and replace. This allows companies to set their organization's goals and track the progress. This helps them optimize their IT infrastructure through the impact emissions dashboard. And number 5, remove. Supports the organization's efforts in removing carbon and trading carbon credits through carbon credits marketplaces. These set of tools can be used together or individually depending upon the need of different customers. Now that you know at a high level about Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability, let's discuss the main ways these solutions help organizations in achieving their ESG goals. Whenever I talk to my customers, I remind them we must treat carbon accounting with the same rigor as financial accounting. Just like financial accounting, carbon accounting requires full transparency and an audit trail. The Microsoft Sustainability solutions enable organizations to build provenance and lineage into their sustainability reporting. The solution benefits organizations in 4 different areas. Let's take a look. Number 1, enable ESG data intelligence, streamline data ingestion, integration, and calculations. Establish a baseline with the ability to track progress against goals, build governance around the whole process, and allow for reporting on top of the data collected. Number 2, deliver sustainable IT systems. Adopt technologies and strategies that are sustainable by design, increasing efficiencies while adding business value. Reduce the sustainability impact of your apps, AI, and productivity solutions. Build more sustainable workloads that maximize utilization while minimizing waste. Find opportunities to replace carbon-intensive assets with technologies that are more sustainable by design. Number 3, improve ESG performance. Optimize the performance of your operations and assets. Use sensor-enabled data management and automated scenarios. Reduce the environmental impact of fleets and transportation. Promote transparency and accountability through your value chain. Number 4, monitor and mitigate ESG risks. Invest in innovation to help you prepare for the future. Use predictive risk modeling and AI-driven scenario planning to prepare for sustainability risks, both to your business and your business's effect on other people and the planet. Predict demand and optimize inventories and logistics. Use data and AI solutions such as IoT, digital twins, and high-performance compute to inform new sustainable products, services, and business models.
identify opportunities to create efficiencies, and build resilience by revamping business practices. Now that you know about the Microsoft sustainability solutions and their benefits, let's dive into one by one, starting with the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability data model. Let's talk about data modeling. Data modeling is the process of diagramming data flows. It brings a much needed structure and consistency to the process of data collection and organization. An ESG data model can bring the same clarity and structure to the complex world of ESG data integration. Data models provide a structure on which data can be streamlined and mapped to set appropriate goals and measure them on targets. A data model will also allow an organization to measure their performance over time. The organizations can easily comply with different ESG regulations by creating templates on top of the data model. Now that we understand the need for an ESG data model, let's discuss the Microsoft's offering in this space. Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability data model is the foundation for Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability built on top of the Microsoft Common Data Model, but can also be used independently by independent software vendors and customers for building additional sustainability solutions on non-Microsoft technologies. Currently, it covers carbon emissions, water, and waste data model. It is used to import customer activities that produce greenhouse gas emissions for emissions calculation and reporting of emissions impact. It has 6 functional areas. Let's have a look. Number 1, data ingestion. These are details of data connections for provenance. Number 2, organization. This defines the organization's logical structure, including its divisions, departments, and physical locations. Number 3, emission factors. Defines emission libraries, identifying how much greenhouse gas is released for each unit of given emission factor. It also defines available unit types and conversion factors back to base units, such as units of distance, and conversion factors such as 1 mile equals 1600 meters. Number 4, emission sources. By using elastic data stores and virtual entities, the system will store data from your various emission sources, which allows Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability to track factors such as energy purchased and fuel consumption. Number 5, emission calculations. This defines the models that are used to calculate emissions for activity data. It uses calculation profiles to calculate the emissions from your emission sources. Number 6, reporting. Use calculated emission to report on emissions, analyze emission sources to identify trends in carbon emission production, and create goals to reduce your organization carbon emissions. The Cloud for Sustainability water data model helps organizations unify and prepare water sustainability data to achieve their water sustainability goals. The water data model builds on the Cloud for Sustainability data model and provides the schema required for storing and linking water quality and quantity measurement and water sustainability reference data. The Cloud for Sustainability waste data model enables organizations to unify, standardize, and prepare waste sustainability data in order to track and achieve their net zero waste sustainability goals. The schema makes waste sustainability data available for use cases such as regulatory disclosures for waste generated and disposed, as well as for compliance monitoring of hazardous and radioactive waste quality characteristics. The key point is that the data model is extendable, and you can add your custom entities and attributes to create your own templates. Now that you have learned about the ESG data model, let's talk about Project ESG Lake. Project ESG Lake allows your organization to build a single source of truth for environmental, social, and governance data. Project ESG Lake provides the following capabilities. Bring calculated emissions data from Microsoft Sustainability Manager or other third-party solutions into your ESG data estate. Integrate your organization's Microsoft-based emissions related to your usage of Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365 into your ESG data estate. Further enrich your data by using external datasets that are offered through Project ESG Lake across various sustainability categories, including biodiversity, climate risk, energy, and ESG. Use standardized ESG data in Project ESG Lake in Microsoft Fabric. Fabric is an end-to-end unified analytics platform that lets you use the power of generative AI against your data and glean meaningful insights from your data. Associate aggregated and standardized ESG data in Project ESG Lake to a set of Power BI reporting templates aligned to ESG data models. And lastly, connect your standardized ESG data to reporting templates that are aligned to Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive CSRD to accelerate the creation of insights and reports for CSRD metrics. Now that you have learned about the Project ESG Lake, let's deep dive into Microsoft Sustainability Manager. Microsoft Sustainability Manager focuses on the first two pillars of the entire ESG process, that is, record and report, with some focus on reduction as well. With Microsoft Sustainability Manager, organizations can gain continuous visibility into their emissions activities and reliably report impact in near real time. Additionally, it allows organizations to assess the intelligence that's required to collaborate with others in order to refine and scale sustainability initiatives and transform their business end to end. For the record stage, you can use it to automate data collection, break down data silos, calculate emissions more accurately across scopes. For the report stage, you can use it to visualize your impact, track your performance against goals, gain actionable insights, and streamline reporting. For the reduce stage, you can use it to set and track sustainability targets, collaborate seamlessly, integrate your sustainability insights, and support emission reduction strategies. Now that you know at a high level the features of Microsoft Sustainability Manager, let's discuss the 5 solution focus areas in more detail. The key solution focus areas for Sustainability Manager and what different professionals within your organization will be prioritizing are the following. Number 1, organization setup. Number 2, data ingestion. Number 3, emission calculations. Number 4, insights and reporting. And number 5, goals and scorecard. Organization setup and data ingestion can be of interest to IT-focused professionals. Operations managers will be instrumental in defining the organization, providing data, and using the intelligence that they gain about their own operations. Emission calculations, insights and reporting, scorecards, and goals are important for sustainability officers. Business leaders will also be interested in the analytics, reports, and the insights that are generated. Let's see some screenshots of the solution in action. You define the key attributes of your organization upfront. Understanding this level of detail will help you create a blueprint for the organization in this solution. Microsoft Sustainability Manager supports a wide variety of sources from which you can automatically integrate your business data. Data ingestion includes identifying the various sources that generate emissions and then connecting these data sources. In this step, you will determine the different scopes and activities that contribute to your organization's emissions. The lack of global standards for calculating carbon emissions is one of the greatest challenges that customers face. However, Sustainability Manager uses dynamic calculation models based on the Greenhouse Gas Protocol to calculate the 3 different scopes of carbon emissions. More sophisticated organizations can generate more accurate results by customizing the emission factors and formulas that they use in the solution to convert raw data into calculated emissions. Currently, Sustainability Manager has been verified with EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and DEFRA, Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, emission factors. Organizations can add any factor set based on their own business needs and regional requirements. Analytical reports present your calculated emissions in an organized way so that you can detect trends or explore your data. These reports are updated soon after your calculations are run, and you can review the outcome of your calculations in an aggregated format. You can also export data in predefined report formats that include groupings for emissions and activity as well as other dimensions. Scorecards and goals allow organizations to monitor progress against data-driven goals. They can help you create sustainability metrics and track them against your company's key business objectives. After you have created a scorecard that includes some goals, you can periodically check on the scorecard's progress and make required adjustments. Let's now discuss how we can collect data from an organization's supply chain using the Sustainability Manager. Let's talk about the ESG value chain. The ESG value chain solution enables you to gather data directly from your value chain partners and use that data to calculate your Scope 3 emissions. So what is a value chain? A value chain partner is any third party with whom you do business or are otherwise invested and from whom you need to collect data. You can also gather product carbon footprint data directly from your suppliers with this feature. The ESG value chain solution consists of 2 main components that you can use together to gather your value chain data. Number 1, a value chain data hub within Microsoft Sustainability Manager, where you can initiate invitations and surveys for your suppliers and view the data that you receive from them. Number 2, a Power Pages portal template that you can use to request data directly from your suppliers. Power Pages is a solution which allows you to build low-code, scalable, and secure business-centric websites. Now that we have discussed Sustainability Manager, let's discuss how we can address specific regulations and compliance reporting in the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability. Staying compliant to regulations is a key challenge. There are more than 250 regulatory updates per day. It is hard to figure out how these updates impact the organization. Compliance departments are already understaffed. One way to minimize this mundane work is through automation of these regulatory updates. Purview Compliance Manager helps simplify compliance and reduce risk by providing number one, pre-built assessment for common industry and regional standards and regulations, or custom assessments to meet your unique compliance needs. Available assessments depend on your licensing agreement. Number two, workflow capabilities to help you efficiently complete your risk assessment through a single tool. Number three, detailed step-by-step guidance on suggested improvement action to help you comply with the standards and regulations that are most relevant for your organization. For actions that are managed by Microsoft, you will see implementation details and audit results. Number four, a risk-based compliance score to help you understand your compliance posture by measuring your progress in completing improvement actions. Now that we know about the Purview Compliance Manager, let's see how we can implement some ESG regulation templates with it. In April 2021, the European Commission adopted a legislative proposal for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive (CSRD). The directive requires companies within its scope to report on environmental, social, and governance matters using a double materiality perspective in compliance with European Sustainability Reporting Standards (ESRS). The EU gave its final approval for CSRD to go into full effect in November 2022. On 31st of July 2023, the EU Commission adopted the European Sustainability Reporting Standards (ESRS). With CSRD, Purview is extended to support sustainability reporting regulations. You can add and customize the ESRS reporting templates as per your need. We can expect more regulation templates to be added to Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability in the future. In this chapter, we discussed compliance reporting and how you can use template reports from Purview Compliance Manager. Next, we will talk about the emissions impact dashboard. The emissions impact dashboard falls in the green technology domain of the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability solutions. It focuses on carbon reduction in the IT systems themselves. Emissions impact dashboards provide consistent and accurate carbon accounting to quantify an organization's carbon footprint associated with using Microsoft Azure and/or Microsoft 365. They enable organizations to quantify emissions across scopes 1, 2, and 3 by using Microsoft's methodology. This methodology helps to quantify the aggregated life cycle carbon impacts of individual IT asset components across the Microsoft Cloud value chain and allocates them to specific usage for each Azure service and for Microsoft 365 customers. These emissions can also be accessed via Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability API to build customized dashboards. For more information, see a new approach for carbon emissions. Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability provides two Microsoft Power BI dashboards to calculate your organization's carbon emissions from your Microsoft Cloud-hosted IT infrastructure. Number one, emissions impact dashboard for Azure. Number two, emissions impact dashboard for Microsoft 365. Let's discuss the calculation methodologies used by the emission impact dashboard in the next video. Microsoft bases its calculation methodology on principles from the Greenhouse Gas Protocol and uses widely accepted ISO standards. Scopes 1 and 2 power usage for Scope 1 and 2 emission is categorized by storage, compute, or network. Usage time in these categories helps in attribution of Scope 1 and 2 emissions. The calculation of Scope 3 emissions starts with the lifecycle evaluation of materials that are used in Microsoft data center infrastructure and carbon emissions by data center. Microsoft segments this calculation based on the customer usage of each data center. A critical aspect to understanding emissions accounting is that the same emissions that are classified as Scope 1 or 2 for one organization can be recognized as Scope 3 for another. For example, Microsoft Cloud services result in Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions for Microsoft, but the allocated share of these emissions counts as Scope 3 emissions for Microsoft Cloud customers who purchase those services. You can learn about the calculation methodology inside the dashboard in the Calculation Methodology tab. Let's go a little deeper into the emissions impact dashboard for Azure. The emissions impact dashboard for Azure has multiple tabs that detail a range of metrics. The dashboard provides insights into emissions that are generated based on an organization's use of Microsoft Cloud services. Key fact boxes across the upper left of the page provide visibility into carbon emissions, total cloud usage, and carbon intensity, which is a measure of efficiency. Some of the more important ones are emissions saving, which lets organizations view the carbon emission savings from running on Microsoft Cloud versus an on-premises alternative. GHG Preparation Report, which helps organizations prepare internal or external sustainability reports. Usage reports. This helps organizations know the usage hours of Azure services across all available subscriptions. And finally, the calculation methodology page provides insights into how Microsoft calculates emissions and usage for the emissions impact dashboard. Similarly, the emissions impact dashboard for Microsoft 365 gives you the total emissions generated by your Microsoft 365 consumption. Now that we have discussed the emissions impact dashboard, let's discuss the role of environmental credit service. Let's first talk about carbon credits. Carbon credits are a type of environmental credit which represents the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide or the equivalent in greenhouse gases. Carbon credits can be traded between companies and individuals. Different parties can offset their activities such as flying and driving by purchasing carbon credits from trusted sources. CEO of Climate Impact X, Mikkel Larsen, said it best. Carbon credits are a crucial market-based mechanism to finance solutions for climate mitigation, but to realize its true potential, we need a healthy carbon services ecosystem underpinned by trust. Now let's talk about cap and trade systems. Cap and trade systems are an emission trading system where each industry or organization is given a maximum cap of carbon. The overall volume of greenhouse gases that can be emitted by power plants, industry factories, and aviation sector covered by the trading system is limited by a cap on the number of emission allowances. Within the cap, companies receive or buy emission allowances, which they can trade as needed. The cap decreases every year while the price of the carbon credit increases, ensuring that the total emissions fall. So if you do well with your carbon goals, you can sell your carbon credits to other companies, or if you run over, then you must buy credits. Next, let's look at MRV and how this process helps you obtain your carbon credits. What is MRV and why is MRV important to mitigation efforts? Measurement, reporting, and verification. MRV refers to the multi-step process to measure the amount of greenhouse gas emissions reduced by a specific mitigation activity, such as reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation over a period of time, and report these findings to an accredited third party. The third party then verifies the report so that the results can be certified and carbon credits can be issued. Now that you have learned about MRV, let's discuss Microsoft Environmental Credit Service. Environmental Credit Service in the Microsoft Cloud for Sustainability brings efficiency, trust, and transparency to voluntary ecological markets. It tokenizes and manages the lifecycle of all the assets, including projects, claims, and carbon credits that are involved in the voluntary ecological market ecosystem across participants. Participants may include suppliers, issuing registries, validation and verification bodies, marketplaces, custodians, financial intermediaries, and buyers. Environmental Credit Service connects the wide spectrum of participants in the voluntary ecological market ecosystem. Think of it as a multi-sided network which brings together buyers, sellers, issuing registries, validation and verification bodies, and marketplaces together. By bringing everyone together, it creates trust through transparency in the process. All parties get to have the peace of mind that they took part in a valid carbon credit transaction.